In our discussion on active learning, I would like to mention the theoretical underpinnings of this concept. Active learning is not an ultra-modern concept. In fact, its roots can be traced decades ago to several theorists. However, I would like to mention two psychologists today when it comes to active learning. One is the name of Jean Piaget, a Swiss developmental psychologist. Piaget is well known for his theoretical work, which is called constructivism. Constructivism as an approach emphasizes that learners construct or build their own understanding. Piaget was operating at a time where passive learning was the norm in school. However, it was an approach he did not agree with. He did not believe that children were like empty vessels that needed to be filled up. Rather, he believed that children are very active, enthusiastic learners. We just need to provide them stimulation and opportunities to learn. If we do so, children's minds will create and construct meaning on their own. Somewhere or the other, the spirit of constructivism underlies active learning, where we have come to understand that giving opportunities to learn is very important to students and allowing them to build their understanding of a phenomena. We can, of course, ask students what kinds of understandings they are developing and, if required, enrich those understandings. Another psychologist that I would like to mention in this regard is Lev Vygotsky. Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist who talked about the concept of social constructionism. Social here means the interaction between people. Vygotsky believed that yes, learners construct their own knowledge, but do so best when they are socially engaged. That means they are interacting with other people. These other people could be teachers, they could be peers, they could be parents. Hence, Vygotsky had a very important place for interactions and dialogues in his theory of learning. An important concept that comes from Vygotsky's theory is the concept of zone of proximal development. Zone of proximal development is not a physical zone per se, it's not a physical space. It refers to those skills and those concepts that students may have some knowledge about, but they have not mastered yet. Yet they will be able to master if we provide them the right guidance and mentoring. I think as far as active learning strategies are concerned, they are best applied for those phenomena that students have some background information on, but have not mastered yet. And now if we give them opportunities for exploration, they will be able to master those concepts. Active learning may not be ideally applied to concepts for which students have no background knowledge. In that case, active learning strategies might just overwhelm students and they may not be able to accomplish much. However, if something lies within the ZPD of a student, that's when we can foster active learning. One concept that is also interesting in the area of education is that of instructional scaffolding. It is a teaching method that enables a student to solve a problem through a gradual shedding of outside assistance. This means that as educators, we remain mindful of one thing. When a concept is new to our students, we remain more directive, more hands-on, more instructional. But as our students' mastery of concepts increases, we allow them to take more control and more charge of their learning. And we reduce our assistance. That's what I mean by gradual shedding of outside assistance. Scaffolding is a good concept for educators to be mindful of as to when to be more hands-on and when to start to step back. This is a term that was first coined by Wood, Bruner, and Ross in the year 1976. This is a diagrammatic representation of zone of proximal development. As you can see, the diagram divides a learner's mind frame into 3 concentric circles. At the center is what a learner can do unaided. Here, there is no need for the teacher to intervene or for a teacher to help. It's something the child or the student can do on their own. Then, outside that comes the zone of proximal development. This is referring to those skills and concepts that the student can handle, but with guidance. Here, I was saying, of course, it is best to apply active learning strategies here. And in the third concentric circle comes what the learner cannot do. So something which is absolutely new to the learner. Here, we might have to be more directive, give our students the necessary background knowledge. Once the concept enters the zone of proximal development, we start to use more active learning strategies. So those are the theoretical underpinnings that I wanted to share. We can now come to some other examples of active learning strategies. One of these is called the 3-step interview. This technique is ideal when we want students to articulate their views and opinions on a given phenomena. It is probably best used in tutorials when we are meeting smaller groups of students. And the technique works like this. We can place students into groups of 3. We assign each student a specific role. For instance, A becomes interviewer, B becomes interviewee, and C becomes reporter. And you ask them to conduct an interview on any given topic, such as a policy that has just been released by the government, an economic policy or a health policy. And the interview is about the pros and cons of that policy. While A is interviewing B, C is taking down notes. After a brief interview, maybe consisting of 2 or 3 questions, the roles are rotated. So for instance, C becomes the interviewer, A becomes the interviewee, B becomes the reporter. After each student has had the chance to become the reporter or the note taker, then they all share what happened in each interview. Each person shares what they took down when they were reporter, and the teacher can help the students draw the broad conclusions out of the 3 sets of interviews. Like I was saying, this is a good way for students to articulate their opinions on phenomena, to talk to each other and to learn from each other. An interesting technique of active learning has to do with demonstrations. If we give a plain demonstration to our students, that is passive learning. How do you make demonstrations active? One of the things you can do is you can ask students to predict the results of a demonstration. Before you actually demonstrate, they may predict the results. They may also discuss the results with a neighbor. Well, they don't have neighbors in classes now that we have online classes. Students can maybe discuss with a friend over WhatsApp what the prediction is. After everyone has made their predictions, then you provide the demonstration and let the students see the outcome. After the outcome is clear, ask the students to discuss the observed result and how it may have differed from their prediction. If there are discrepancies between the prediction the student made and the actual outcome of the demonstration, then you may follow it up with an explanation. Another technique of active learning is strip sequence. Here, you can show the students the steps of a procedure, but the steps are all jumbled up on the screen. The students have to work either in pairs or alone to reconstruct the proper sequence and then share it with you. You can then check if the sequence that the students have created is the one that matches yours. This kind of approach can strengthen students' logical thinking processes. So depending on your subject, depending on the class size, you can choose one or many of these strategies.